Hello, my name is Patricia McClellan Terrell, and I write under the pen name PM Terrell. And this is another book review. I am the slowest reader ever because I really like to feel the scenes marinate in my mind. So I might read a page or a chapter and then just kind of dwell on it for a little bit. I don't like to just read it straight through, but experience every paragraph. And this was particularly true with Claire Fullerton's book, Mourning Dove. Now, I bought Mourning Dove for two reasons. One is that I had read Claire Fullerton's earlier work, Dancing to an Irish Reel, which takes place in my favorite country of Ireland. And it turns out that the author spent a good deal of time in Galway, so the book was very realistic, and I loved her style. So I knew that I would enjoy the style of writing in Mourning Dove. The second reason that I bought it is because this one, unlike her other, takes place in Memphis, Tennessee in the 1970s. And I'm a Yankee girl, which it doesn't sound like with this accent, but in the 70s I spent a few years living in the Mississippi Delta. So we used to go to Memphis on weekends, just for a day trip. My mother enjoyed going there, and I was very curious about my memories versus, what Claire Fullerton would write about in Mourning Dove, and the backdrop of that era and that place. And from the beginning, I was really intrigued because the book is narrated by Millie Crossan, and she mentions that her beloved brother Finlay has died. So with every scene that takes place, I'm wondering whether this is the moment, that leads to his death. And what that ended up doing is creating kind of a bittersweet mood over the book, because it casts the shadow of knowing that each and every scene was so precious, and his life was going to be cut short way too soon. Well, family dynamics come to life in the book. We learn about their father, who is a very loving and caring man. There is a scene about a bird that is just very touching and really shows what this man is made of, and his tenderness. But at the same time, he has become an alcoholic, and it has ripped the family apart. It begins in Minnesota, and there are some segues back to their time in Minnesota. But the mother is originally from Memphis. So when the marriage falls apart, she returns there, and Memphis society really comes to life through her eyes, because she is a Memphis socialite, and eventually remarries. And they have a very different life in Memphis than they had in Minnesota. Well, there's only the two of the children, Millie and Finlay, and Finlay seems so grounded, and he seems wise, really beyond his years. He seems to sense things and know things, just matter-of-factly, that Millie doesn't really pick up on. He provides the stability and the refuge for Millie as she goes through these trying times of losing her father through divorce, and again through alcoholism, and going through the ups and downs of her mother's changes, as she integrates herself into Memphis society. And though Millie eventually graduates and she marries a childhood sweetheart, miscarries a child, and they eventually divorce, the book really isn't about her relationship with that man. In fact, I was surprised when they did get married because there wasn't that much about him really through the book. And it really isn't a story about other relationships in Millie's life. It's really an ode to her brother and the vital role that he played in her life. They are almost like soulmates, really, weaving through their own lives, eventually becoming separated by miles and distance as he moves to Charlottesville, Virginia, and attends college there. But they always seem to find their way back to one another, as if Millie finds home in Finlay. When I finished Mourning Dove, I was really struck by the brevity of life and how very quickly it plays itself out. I was also reminded that regardless of the paths that we take in adulthood, our lives are truly defined by those earliest years. It brought back memories for me of a different place, a different time, a bygone era. I have not been back to Memphis since the 1970s, and I'm sure that it has changed dramatically from my memories, because back then it felt like a small town, even though it was larger than Greenville, Mississippi, which is where I was living at the time when I would visit Memphis. But the era and the place, the Deep South, feels very cruel and very crude compared to today's enlightenment, not just with the internet and the ability to connect around the world, but so much of what we have learned and so much of how we have been able to move forward in our lives. But it's also a reminder of how far we have come and how far we have yet to go. I highly recommend Mourning Dove by Claire Fullerton, and I'd like to know what you think once you read it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I will be doing additional reviews. I'm slow, probably one a month, so I can let each book marinate. And if you'd like to check out more about me, you can find me at pmterrell.com. And I also have the novelbusiness.com, which is geared toward writers and treating writing like a business. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks.